So in this one, we're going to look at 3 ways to create a dramatic rise kind of build up. And what I mean by rise is comes from, I used to watch Stargate Atlantis a while ago, and it was written by Jerry Goldsmith's son, the soundtracks, and the music was, and which is an interesting point. But anyways, this is when the building is actually first discovered and it rises up out of the water. And so as I initially created this using just a Lydian 1-2 kind of build-up, but I decided to expand on it and give 3 options that will actually achieve the same kind of a situation. So instead of me yammering, let's just watch the background first. Buildings rising up out of the water. First time they've discovered it. And when the city reaches a high point, it kind of powers on, and the people are like, wow. So that's what we're working with. Now, I in no way claim to be a film composer, but what I was picturing here is rising melody, pedal point. Pedal points are very good for creating drama, and a sudden key change when it's at the top, or the wow point. So Lydian 1-2 to E makes a Lydian flat 6, for instance. Or you could say E with a borrowed 5. So let's listen to that. So we just created a dramatic rise to the high point and then a sudden shift when they were like, wow. So a very generic Lydian 1 and 2. Generic in meaning it's very common. And this continues to create the illusion of rise by continuously adding octaves. And then it goes into double octaves. If you don't know what that is, that's an octave and then another octave below that in your melodic lines. Continuously adding to the illusion that the melody's rising, just like the building's rising out of the water. Double and triple octaves are very common. If you take E.T.'s theme, when it's very sweeping, he uses triple octaves and 4 different string groups. And it's a very common technique to use for sweeping melodies as well, but let me just play it through slow now. I'll just play it as single line rising. Because I obviously, at the keyboard, you obviously can't play double octaves and triple octaves without dropping out your harmonic content. So it just keeps repeating this. Sudden key change. E makes a Lydian flat 6. B minor 7th. E. B minor 7th. Now where you go from here is, I can't teach you how to completely write music, so you might back off and just kind of do some continuous modulation or something. That sounds slightly, mysterious. But most likely at a quieter dynamic because people start talking at that point. But the next option would be the same exact kind of melodic sequence, and then the E mix Lydian flat 6 area is the same, but now we're using a chromatic mediant shift instead of Lydian. So each time it's the same, almost the same exact melodic content, but each time we kind of change it up a little bit. Just the chromatic mediant shift a major third away, A flat, but with C as the pedal point kind of sound. and it just continuously rises like the other one by adding octaves and triple octaves. And then sudden dramatic shift to that E mixolydian flat 6 part. Or if you want to consider it E major with a borrowed minor 5, and then wherever you go from there is up to you. So we're just trying to establish that rise and then the wow aspect. One of the hardest part about teaching music, in my honest opinion, is that just so many options to do stuff that some people consider it overwhelming, but you do reach a point to where you actually like all the options. So this next option uses the tritone effect, which creates the most dissonance with the pedal point, which in turn really begs to be resolved, but it doesn't resolve. It suddenly shifts again back to E mixolydian flat 6. Now, I forgot to mention gradual introduction of more and more instruments. However, this is not about orchestration in general. So now we get this. What I like about the tritone version is you can create these little chromatic lines. I'm using the flat 6 over the C. So a tritone, I'm using G flat on purpose, because I don't want to write a C sharp over a C. In this basic sketch with a C pedal point, you don't want to also stick the C sharp there, it just looks sloppy, so makes more sense to use G flat. So again, this G flat or F sharp over C is very dissonant. So it begs to be resolved. So again, there's so many options where you can go at this point. Since it starts to mellow out and people start talking, you could do something like this, a continuous modulation. You could keep going. One of the good things about continuous modulation is it does not sound resolved. It sounds like it always wants to go somewhere. Now I resolved. Now it doesn't sound like it wants to go somewhere. It sounds finalized. Or you could do something like this, some kind of modal interchange. Mixolydian, Phrygian dominant. But over a pedal point, which kind of still maintains that mysterious kind of sound, but slightly lighter because of the pedal point, even though there's that strong dissonance between the Phrygian dominant 1 and 2. But the reason I chose Phrygian dominant is because that has it can have a slightly mysterious sound to it besides exotic. So you can also escape again with some kind of modal interchange like that instead of constant modulation. But that's not the focus of this video. Again, there's just 3 ways we can create a dramatic rise buildup. When this building's rising, and you get the wow factor when it's suddenly out of the bottom of the ocean and it's up top, and suddenly powers itself up, and it's the first time discovering the city. So I just thought I'd show you 3 simple options you can use to create kind of the same effect: Lydian, chromatic medians, and tritone effect.